Trump was just rushed out of the White House Correspondents' Dinner after loud bangs caused panic inside the Washington Hilton. This Saturday night, April 25, 2026, which was supposed to mark a rare appearance of the president at the event, turned into a scene of political and national security emergency within seconds. Secret Service agents entered the ballroom, ordered guests to get down, escorted Trump and Melania Trump out of the main area, and began a sweep of the area. Initial reports suggested possible gunfire and the presence of a shooter, while authorities were still trying to confirm all the details. The incident directly affected the center of American power, because in the same ballroom were the President of the United States, the First Lady, Vice President J.D. Vance, Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, Cabinet Secretaries, journalists, celebrities, and officials. This was not an ordinary event. It was a dinner surrounded by heavy security, cameras, and the national press. That's why, when the bangs were heard, the response was immediate. The president was taken out within moments, and the guests dove under the tables while armed agents entered the ballroom. I'll tell you all about it in a moment, but right now you'll want to subscribe to the channel to stay well informed. Real-time information with the best journalistic quality you've ever seen. Maintaining our standard of credibility, the first reports indicate that the threat may not have started inside the main hall, but in an area nearby or connected to the event space. The transcription of live reports indicates that people at the scene said that if any shots had been fired, they would have come from outside the hall, where Trump and the other officials were. It was also reported that the Secret Service and other protection teams quickly entered, evacuated those they were protecting, and ended the normal proceedings of the dinner. Tension rose as the dinner was held at the Washington Hilton, a hotel with historic significance in American politics. It was there in 1981 that Ronald Reagan was shot while leaving an event. It was immediately recalled in news coverage, not as a direct comparison, but as a warning about the vulnerability of any public event involving a president of the United States. The location had perimeter restrictions, screening, and layers of security. But even so, the night ended with panic, evacuation, and investigation. Trump was not injured. The information was confirmed by reports that also indicated there were no immediate reports of injuries among the guests. Even so, the impact was significant. The president was at the event for the first time during this phase of his term, in front of journalists with whom he has a tough and often hostile relationship. His presence was already seen as a gesture of strength, exposure, and political confrontation. The rushed withdrawal changed everything. The event shifted from being a ceremony to becoming a crisis. The Secret Service acted as if the threat could escalate. This point is central. In situations like this, agents don't wait for final confirmation to protect the president. They remove the main target, isolate the area, secure other areas, and authorities investigate afterward. That's exactly what happened. Reports from inside the hall indicated that the counter-assault team appeared with weapons ready, while agents guided the exit and searched nearby rooms. Trump later spoke out on Truth Social, praised the Secret Service and the security forces, and said that the shooter had been apprehended. This statement reinforced the idea that the threat was treated as something serious, not just simple confusion or an isolated noise. Even so, until the first updates, some of the information depended on full official confirmation, especially regarding the exact origin of the bangs, the suspect's position, and the dynamics of the incident. The most sensitive part is that everything happened in an environment with thousands of people. Reuters reported that there were about 2,600 participants at the dinner. When the noise was heard, guests shouted for everyone to get down. Hundreds went under the tables and waiters ran to the front of the hall. It was a red alert inside one of the most closely watched events in Washington. External security was also reinforced. The area around the hotel had roadblocks and access to the hall went through several layers of screening. Even so, the question that now dominates Washington is simple. How did a threat of this magnitude get so close to an event with the president, the first lady, the vice president, and high-ranking officials? This question opens a serious investigation into whether there was a security failure, a breach, an alternate route, or internal access to the building. Reports from journalists at the scene indicated confusion about the origin of the sound. Some said they heard several loud bangs. Others reported that they didn't hear the shots, but realized the seriousness when the Secret Service stormed into the hall. The Associated Press reported that some people in the crowd mentioned hearing 5 to 8 sounds that resembled gunshots. Reuters, on the other hand, quoted a photographer who heard 4 to 6 bangs in the hotel, but not immediately next to the dinner venue. The dinner was practically stripped of its original purpose. The expectation was to hear Trump speak, observe his relationship with the press, and gauge the atmosphere among governments, journalists, and public figures. Instead, the focus shifted to the threat, the evacuation, and the actions of the agents. The Washington Post reported that guests were left without clear guidance for a few moments, with some leaving the hall and others waiting to find out if the program would continue, while people called their families to let them know they were alive and safe. Another point stands out: the presence of virtually the government's entire political leadership in the same place. This kind of concentration makes any alert far more critical. In a normal situation, security would already be high. In a situation with so many top figures in the US government, the response has to be as strong as possible. That's why the evacuation wasn't limited to Trump. Other officials were also removed and protected. The suspicion that the source of the booms could be in the area above or near the doors of the hall increased the concern even more. Live reports mentioned a possible lighting area near the access to the lobby. None of this eliminates the need for official confirmation, but it shows why the reaction was so quick. In a closed hall, with thousands of people and exposed officials, any sound resembling a gunshot changes the operation in seconds. The investigation now needs to answer: how did the suspect reach the point of risk? What kind of access was used? Was there a failure in the hotel's security control? And if the threat had a political motivation, this last point is decisive. When a president is removed from an event amid suspicions of an attack, the question about motivation arises immediately. The case cannot be treated as an isolated incident before a full investigation, but it also cannot be minimized in light of what happened. So far, what is already clear is that the night of the correspondence dinner changed course in seconds. Trump was rushed out. Panic broke out in the hall, the Secret Service took control, and Washington ended the night facing a possible attempted attack against the president. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and at the end, check out the comments so you can be even more engaged with the Milson Alves news community.